Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something you need to carry in your heart from this day forward. There will be people in your life who will hurt you, disappoint you, betray you. Sometimes it's the folks you never expected. It could be a friend, a family member, a partner, someone you let close, someone you trusted with your heart. You know, one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do in this life is forgive somebody who never apologized. I'm talking about the kind of person who hurt you, disrespected you, betrayed your trust, and walked away like it was nothing. Didn't say sorry, didn't look back, didn't care what kind of damage they left behind. And here you are carrying the pain, carrying the questions, carrying the weight of it all, while they go on with their life like it never happened. Now, let me tell you something that might shake your soul a little bit. You don't need their apology to forgive them. You don't need them to come crawling back or admit what they did. You don't need closure from them, because sometimes closure don't come in a conversation, it comes in a decision. You've got to decide for yourself that you're not going to let what they did poison your heart one more day. See, a lot of people think forgiveness is about letting someone off the hook. But that ain't it. Forgiveness isn't saying what you did was okay. No, it's saying, I'm not going to carry this pain any longer. I'm not going to let your actions live in my mind rent-free. I'm not going to let bitterness shape who I become. Forgiveness is for you. It's for your sanity. It's for your peace. Because as long as you're holding on to what they did, they still got power over you. And they don't even have to be in the room. You walking around with all this anger, all this hurt, all this resentment. It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. But you the one getting sick. You the one losing sleep. You the one replaying the moment over and over in your head, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what you did wrong. Baby, let me tell you, sometimes people do wrong not because of who you are, but because of who they are. Their actions don't define your worth. Their lies don't change your truth. Their betrayal don't rewrite your value. I know it hurts. I know it feels unfair. But don't let that pain make a home inside you. Don't let it change the way you love, the way you trust, the way you show up in this world. Because you're still good, you're still worthy, you're still enough. Forgiveness is your way of saying, I choose to heal, I choose to grow, I choose to protect my peace. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. You've got to rise above it, not for them, not so they can feel better, but so you can feel free. So you can sleep at night without that weight on your chest. So you can walk through this world without that heaviness in your spirit. So you can love yourself without questioning what you could have done different. You can't change the past. You can't force someone to see the damage they caused. But you can decide that you're not going to let that damage define your future. You can decide that you deserve peace. And baby, peace don't come from waiting on somebody to say sorry. It comes from choosing to let go, even when you never got what you needed. You don't have to make a big announcement. You don't have to tell them. You don't even have to talk to them ever again. Forgiveness can be silent. Forgiveness can be private. It's between you and God, between you and your healing, between you and your future. So let go, not because they asked, not because they changed, but because you deserve to be free, because your soul deserves rest, because your life deserves peace. And no one, no matter what they did, should have the power to take that away from you. Forgive them silently, and then walk away with your head high because peace looks good on you. There's something powerful about silence. In a world full of noise, loud opinions, heated arguments, and endless back and forth, silence can be the loudest statement you make. Now, when someone hurts you, when they betray your trust, when they break your heart, your first instinct might be to speak up, to confront, to demand an explanation, to let them know exactly how much they messed up your life. But I want you to stop right there and think about something. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Sometimes the greatest way to forgive is to forgive silently. Think about it. When you confront someone, you're giving them attention. You're giving them a platform to justify themselves, to explain their actions, maybe even to gaslight you or twist the story around. You're inviting them back into your emotional world. And sometimes that's the last thing you need. When you forgive silently, you take all that power away from them. You take their name out of your mouth. You shut the door quietly, firmly, and without any noise that could pull you back in. Silent forgiveness means you've made peace inside yourself, even if they never asked for it. You don't have to shout, cry, or fight to prove that you're letting go. You just do it. You forgive quietly, privately, like a deep breath after holding in pain for too long. It's a gift you give to yourself, a way to reclaim your peace without needing validation from the person who hurt you. Now, I know that's not always easy. The urge to say what's on your mind can be strong. We want people to understand the damage they cause, to feel the sting of their actions. We want them to pay attention to our pain so that maybe, just maybe, they'll regret what they did. But that kind of confrontation often only drags you back into the mess. It reopens wounds you're trying to heal. It gives them a chance to hurt you all over again. The silence, on the other hand, speaks volumes. It says, I'm not here for drama. I'm not here to rehash old battles. I'm here for peace. It says, your actions don't control my emotions anymore. When you forgive silently, you're showing the world and yourself that you are stronger than the hurt. You are bigger than the betrayal. You are wise enough to know that not every story deserves a sequel. And here's the beautiful part. Silent forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you pretend it didn't hurt. It means you recognize the pain, you accept it, and then you decide not to let it have a permanent home in your heart. You take your power back quietly without making a scene. You heal on your own terms without waiting for the other person to play their part. This kind of forgiveness is for your soul. It frees you from carrying grudges and bitterness. It frees you from sleepless nights spent replaying every detail, trying to figure out what you could have done differently. When you forgive silently, you stop giving your energy to the one who hurt you, and you start giving it back to yourself. Some of the strongest people I've ever met are the ones who forgave without a word. They walked away without a fight, without explanation, without apology. They held their heads high, knowing that their peace was worth more than any argument or confrontation. They knew that silence was their armor, their shield against further pain. So if you're sitting there right now feeling angry, betrayed, or lost because someone hurt you, remember this. You don't owe them a conversation. You don't owe them a chance to defend themselves. You owe yourself peace. And sometimes peace is found in silence. Forgive silently. Let that forgiveness be a quiet declaration of your strength. Let it be a soft but firm boundary that says, I'm done with this pain and I'm moving on. Because at the end of the day, silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not surrender, it's victory. It's not giving up, it's growing up. And when you forgive silently, you give yourself the greatest gift of all, freedom. Freedom from the chains of hurt, freedom from the weight of anger, freedom to live your life unburdened and whole again. That kind of forgiveness, my friend, speaks louder than any words ever could. Let me tell you something real. When someone betrays you, it changes everything. It's like a door that used to be wide open, suddenly slamming shut. And you might be tempted to keep that door cracked just a little bit, hoping maybe one day they'll prove they deserve to walk through it again. But I'm here to tell you that not everyone deserves access to you after betrayal. Not everyone gets a second chance to step back into your world, your heart, your peace. See, there's a difference between forgiving someone and letting them back in like nothing ever happened. Forgiving is for you, but trust is earned. And once it's broken, you don't have to hand it out like candy. You have the right to protect yourself, to guard your heart, to say, no, you don't get to come back just yet. Maybe never. You are not obligated to open your life to someone who showed you their true colors in the worst way. Betrayal is not a mistake, it's a decision. And decisions have consequences. When someone chooses to hurt you, to lie to you, to break your trust, they made a choice to put themselves outside the circle of your deepest connections. And it's okay to keep it that way. Too many people think forgiveness means they have to keep the relationship exactly the same. They think they have to pretend everything is fine and act like the betrayal never happened. But that's not real life. That's not self-respect. You can forgive someone and still say, you don't get to be this close anymore. You can forgive them and still keep your distance. You can forgive and still protect your peace fiercely. Think about it like this. You wouldn't let just anyone walk into your house and rearrange your furniture. You wouldn't let just anyone handle your money or take care of your kids. So why would you let someone who broke your trust have that kind of access to your emotions and your life? You have to be selective about who you allow in. And after betrayal, that selectiveness is not only wise, it's necessary. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to close the door completely and lock it tight. Not because you're bitter or mean, but because you respect yourself enough to know what you deserve. Because you understand that your peace and your happiness are worth more than holding on to a person who didn't value them. Walking away or cutting ties doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself. It means you understand boundaries. It means you're learning what healthy relationships look like, ones based on respect, honesty, and loyalty. And if someone can't give you that, then you don't need them in your inner circle. You don't need them walking beside you. You don't need them messing with your energy. And here's something important. Sometimes you don't have to explain why you're shutting that door. Sometimes your silence and your absence are explanation enough. People who truly care will understand. People who respect you will honor your decision, and people who don't, well, maybe they never needed that access in the first place. Not everyone deserves your time, your attention, or your emotional energy. Not everyone is worthy of the space you create around yourself. When betrayal happens, it's a red flag, a flashing warning light that says, slow down, reconsider who you let in. And that warning, you have to listen to it. Because if you don't, you might find yourself hurt all over again. So protect yourself. Protect your heart. Don't be afraid to say no to the people who showed you they don't deserve yes. Forgive quietly, yes, but don't let that forgiveness be an invitation to repeat pain. Let it be a boundary that keeps your soul safe and your spirit strong. You have the power to choose who gets close. You have the right to decide who's allowed in your life and who stays outside. And when someone betrays you, remember, you don't owe them an open door. You don't owe them a second chance. You owe yourself a safe space, peace, and love that doesn't come with condition. Not everyone deserves access to you after betrayal. And that's not just okay. That's necessary. Because your life, your heart, and your peace, they're worth protecting always. Sometimes in life, the hardest thing to do is walk away. When someone hurts you, when they betray your trust, when they disappoint you in a way that cuts deep, your instinct might be to hold on tighter, to fight harder, to plead, to try to fix what's broken. But let me tell you something that many folks don't understand. Walking away is not weakness. Walking away is power, is strength. It's a bold, courageous choice that says you value yourself more than the pain someone else caused you. You see, the world tries to convince us that staying is brave, that sticking it out no matter what makes you strong. But sometimes real strength is knowing when enough is enough. Real power comes from having the wisdom to recognize when a situation no longer serves you, when a relationship no longer uplifts you, and when your peace is at stake, and instead of begging, arguing, or holding on to something toxic, you simply walk away. Walking away is saying to yourself, I am worth more than this drama. I am worth more than the hurt. I am worth more than being treated like an option. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's putting yourself first when the natural temptation is to put others ahead of your own well-being. And that, my friend, is powerful. Too many people confuse walking away with giving up. They see it as quitting, as failure, as weakness. But I want to challenge that thinking today. Walking away isn't quitting, it's choosing. It's choosing to protect your heart. It's choosing to stop giving your energy to people who don't deserve it. It's choosing to live your life on your own terms, not on someone else's drama or disrespect. When you walk away, you're not running from problems. You're running to something better. Peace, freedom, dignity, and the chance to rebuild yourself without the weight of betrayal dragging you down. Walking away means you're done being a chapter in someone else's story that doesn't honor you. You're closing that book and starting a new one, your own. And let me tell you something else. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't love. It doesn't mean you're cold or heartless. It means you're smart. It means you understand that love, respect, and loyalty are supposed to be mutual. They're supposed to be shared, not one-sided. If someone can't give you that, no matter how much you want them to, walking away is your way of saying, I deserve better. Think about it like this. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks. Every betrayal, every lie, Every hurtful word is another rock added to that bag. At some point, carrying all that weight becomes too much. You can either keep struggling under the burden or you can set the backpack down. Walking away is setting that heavy load down. It's freeing yourself from the pain that's been holding you back. And that freedom, that's power. You're showing yourself that you're not a victim. You're showing yourself that you're a warrior who chooses battles wisely. You're saying, I will not let someone else's bad choices ruin my life. You're taking control back. And that's one of the most powerful things you can do. And don't let anyone shame you for walking away. There will be voices telling you to stay, to forgive, to try harder. But those voices don't carry your heart or your pain. Only you know what you can handle. Only you know when you've been hurt enough. Only you know when walking away is the bravest thing you can do. So stand tall, be proud. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that you are making the strongest decision for yourself. Walking away is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter filled with healing growth and better things waiting for you. Remember, walking away is power. It's the ultimate act of self-love. It's the loudest way to say, I respect myself enough to choose peace over pain. And that kind of power, nobody can take that from you. People often tell you that closure is the key to healing, that you need to have that final conversation, a talk where everything gets said, apologies are made, explanations given, and wounds finally start to close. But I'm here to tell you that closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes closure is simply putting distance between you and the source of your pain. Sometimes the way you heal is by walking away and creating space, not by revisiting the hurt through words or argument. I know it's hard to hear because we're taught to resolve things with talk, to hash it all out, get the why, get the how could you, get the answers that might make us feel better. But what happens when those answers never come? What happens when the person who hurt you refuses to acknowledge the damage or even denies it? You're stuck waiting for something that might never happen. You're stuck in the past, hoping for a conversation that won't bring peace, only pain. That's why sometimes the best thing you can do is stop chasing closure through dialogue. Sometimes you have to create your own closure by stepping away, by saying, this is the end of my story with you, by refusing to engage any longer. Because distance can bring clarity. Distance can bring peace. And peace is what you really need. You see, closure is really about you. It's about putting your heart back together and moving on. Not about convincing someone else to fix what they broke. When you depend on a conversation for closure, you give someone else power over your healing. You give them control over when and if you get peace. And that's dangerous. So what if you don't get the conversation? What if you never get the apology or explanation you want? Then you create your own closure by walking away. You choose to let the silence be your answer. You choose to let time and distance do the healing. You choose to stop letting the past hurt your present and future. Distance isn't about running away. It's about protecting yourself. It's about honoring your worth enough to say, I deserve to heal in my own way on my own time. It's about reclaiming your peace without waiting for anyone else's permission. And sometimes that means cutting off contact, unfollowing, blocking, and creating boundaries that keep the pain out. When you do this, you'll find that your mind starts to clear, your heart begins to mend, the constant replay of hurtful moments slows down. You start to see the situation not through the lens of pain, but through the lens of growth. You start to realize that closure isn't about the other person's actions. It's about your decision to no longer be defined by those actions. And that decision is powerful. It's freeing. It's the moment you take your life back. You stop waiting for closure to be handed to you on a silver platter and instead build it brick by brick yourself. You become the author of your own peace. So if you're feeling stuck, waiting on a conversation that might never come, know this: you don't have to wait. You can close that chapter without words. You can find peace without answers. You can heal without their permission. Sometimes closure is the quiet step away. Sometimes it's the space you create that heals the deepest wounds. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do for yourself is to walk into your future with your head held high, carrying the lessons, but leaving the pain behind. That's closure, that's freedom, and that's how you reclaim your life. Let me be honest with you. Sometimes the greatest act of love you can give yourself is to never talk to someone again. Now, I know that sounds harsh, and some people might call it bitterness or holding a grudge, but I want to challenge that thought today. Choosing not to speak to someone after they've hurt you deeply isn't about bitterness. It's about self-respect. It's about valuing yourself enough to protect your peace and your sanity. See, when someone betrays you, breaks your trust, or treats you like you're less than you deserve, you have a choice to make. You can keep engaging with them, hoping they'll change, hoping things will get better, hoping they'll say the right words to fix what's broken, or you can stop the cycle. You can decide that your peace is worth more than the pain they keep causing. And sometimes that decision means cutting off communication completely. Now, don't confuse silence with weakness. There's nothing weak about walking away and shutting the door on people who don't treat you right. In fact, it takes strength to say no more. It takes courage to put your foot down and say, I'm done. When you decide not to talk to someone who hurt you, you're sending a message.